Okay. Mute my speaker. All right. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing? Thumbs up.
Good.
We're making it. Kenna, I can't see you yet, but I see that you're here.
Just a minute.
Okay. Sounds good. So I'm just making sure that we have everyone. Well, I am glad to see you. How did everything go this week with doing your homework? Thumbs up.
It was, well, yeah, I had to push it. I only had like 3 hours to do it all, so it was something, but yeah.
It actually took longer than I was expecting to get everything done. So once again, you guys are the guinea pigs. And so I thank you for that. We're working through this and there's feedback. So keep talking to me about how it's going as far as how much time it's taking you, whether these assignments are actually useful. Because remember, the entire point of it is for you to learn something. So if we totally miss the mark on learning something, then we should probably review it. So I appreciate you guys. You're the bold and the brave. So, all right. If you wouldn't mind, I would like to just start with a quick prayer. Father God, thank you for bringing us here together. I ask that you would be honored in our conversation and help us to learn what you've put in front of us. In your name we pray, amen. All right. So I think we've all gotten on here. There's Kenna. Hi. Elijah and Lydia are not going to be able to join us right now. Lydia may join us for the last 15 minutes of class. She's doing VBS this week, and so it's tricky, but that's why we have some. Let's start with our reading. Where should I live? There were 14 different components of this article, and there are, I think, 9 students in the class right now. So why don't we just go through with like which one you found most compelling? Want me to call your names? Would that make it easier? I'm drawing. I have all of your names now in this bowl. It's just very filled with excitement. Yes, Mia.
I was going to talk about the climate one.
Okay, well, Mia wants to start then.
I don't have to, though.
No, that's okay. I'm just going to start. Talk to me about climate.
Oh, Tyler left. Well, I know that when picking a place to live, climate is very important because there are some places that are really hot and dry and sunny, and other places that are humid and colder and cloudy, and that just the difference between cloudy days and sunny days can really affect someone and their like happiness in places. And so it's probably don't want to move somewhere where you're just going to be like depressed all the time because the sun never comes out. And also, if you really don't like humidity, then you probably don't want to move somewhere where there's a lot of humidity. And if you really want it to be cold, you don't want to move somewhere where it's really hot. So that's something to look at when you pick somewhere to live.
Where do you find that information out?
Well, you can research different places, like the amount of sunny days, rainy days, cold days and stuff that they have, the average snowfall, average rainfall, that kind of stuff for a city or a region or area.
Mhm.
I think you can also probably look up any place on the weather app and see like their normal day-to-day
Mhm.
weather and temperatures during the summer or winter or whatever.
Absolutely. All right. Is there another one that one of you has been burning to talk about? I don't have to draw your names if you volunteer. Samuel.
I can go, I guess. Like where you are was interesting to me. So how if you are a person who likes to be in a close-knit community, you probably don't want to go to a huge city.
Mhm.
And if you don't like to be in a close-knit community, you like to remain anonymous, I think it said, then a city is better for you.
Mhm. Absolutely. Have you guys noticed, like, do you have that in you? Like, I just want to move somewhere different. Sometimes. Chase. Yes, he says. It's funny because sometimes you don't know until you've tried it. When I was kind of plotting and planning my career within college administration, one of the things that you want to do is work for the wide spectrum. So you want to work for a really large institution, a really small institution, a mid institution, a private, a public. And so when you get all of that experience, you can at least kind of judge it. Now, right now, you're wherever your family puts you, right? You don't have a lot of choices over that. But as you're thinking about your college choices, that's definitely something to consider of what you might want to do if college is in your future. Okay, we got that one. What's next? Ren, Miss Ren.
I thought it was really interesting about employment because there are certain areas where, like, if you work in a hospital, you're probably going to have to live somewhere nearer to a bigger city, at least generally. Or if you are more into construction, you're probably going to be an area that's growing rapidly because you can easily find work for construction. And, you know, just kind of that your trade affects where you are going to end up living, kind of.
I
Right.
have one as well.
If you're a movie actor, you're going to go where the movies are, right? And I also think it's really important when you think about employment, the most boring jobs, like to me, what I would consider the most boring jobs are the ones that are transferable across the way. Like one of our good friends, his entire business is to make signs for businesses. That's a really boring job in my mind. But if you drive under any street in our country, every single business needs a sign. So the boring jobs are the ones that have some stability with them. So, okay, Tyler, did you have your hand up before? Okay. Go ahead and offer it, Mr. Tyler.
Our internet, well, it's not that. Our internet keeps going in and out, so it's gonna probably keep kicking us in and out or whatever. So
We'll take what we can get.
yeah.
So did you want to talk about one of the topics right now, or do you want to come back to it?
I can.
Okay.
The one that I found most interesting was the school, like how the schools represent. I can't speak. The schools, the representation of the school can affect the prices around it because, well, like it can matter different for different families because if like a family has kids and they're gonna go to public school, you wouldn't want to send your kids to somewhere where they're gonna get bullied and other stuff like that. If you're not into it, you can get a cheaper house. So it just depends on who you are.
That's a really, really big deal for families. And you will notice that the structure, the physical structure of houses around schools is different than in other places. Like when you drive down the road, you'll see these little starter homes, and those are typically for the younger families, and they are more likely to be centered around an elementary school or a high school. So it's just an interesting piece of it. There was one more component of the education system that I think is interesting, and that is the the people who go to school in that school will typically, the majority of people will stay kind of close to home. So if you're in a system that has a failing public school system or an area with a failing public school system, you are more likely to have people who are not receiving as strong of an education in the entire city over generations. Does that make sense? So that's an interesting piece of the public conversation when you talk about whether the community actually has the right to educate kids. The education level of the community impacts the ability of the communities to succeed and to thrive. Yeah, Ms. Wren?
I wanted to add that it's also different for homeschooling in different states. They're different. There's different laws. Like Colorado requires you to do certain things that Arizona does not require for homeschoolers. And if you are going to homeschool your family, it is something to note when you move with your family to a new state.
Right. And you're going to be paying the taxes for that school system, whether you're using it or not. So, Mr. Chase.
I was gonna say crime rate, because if you're not like, if you want to move somewhere, you don't want to move somewhere where somebody's getting shot every day.
Right? That would be
Like
a
for
little
instance,
stressful.
Chicago, there's people dying, like more than one every day. If you want to live somewhere safe and have a family, you don't want to move there and risk
Mhm.
that.
Right. One of our friends hesitated to move to a city because it is the state mental hospital is there. And so, you know, like you think about different dynamics, crime, mental stability, those are just things to consider. So, all right. Who has not offered one? Maggie.
I thought it was very interesting about like the affordability. I'm pretty sure I don't.
That's how you say it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because like you might it's probably more affordable at first to do like an apartment and stuff, but in the long term, it's probably better for you to just get a house, but you should probably start with an apartment first because it's like easier, I guess, and you don't have to pay for all the stuff that goes in your house, like the fire, the things that go on your roof that alert you if you have fire.
Yeah.
I forgot what the name
Smoke
is, but
detector.
yeah, that kind of stuff. And like you don't have to pay for that kind of stuff because you probably have a landlord or
Right.
someone like that. So
Well, and that affordability is called cost of living. And there is a cost of living index that our country figures out. Like 2022, it is more expensive to live than it was to live in 2019 because all of our basic goods are in the midst of inflation. So it's costing more. That being said, if you live in New England, like Massachusetts, your cost of living is much higher than if you live in Iowa because the communities have different resources, different taxes. Your dollar stretches a different amount depending on where you live. So that's something that you want to look up is your cost of living index. Miss Mia.
that kind of went off of what Rin said a little, but I had a thought. It's like if you are a fisherman and stuff, you are going to want to move somewhere on the coast, not in the Kansas.
Mhm.
And you have to move where there is availability and where there's
Opportunity.
opportunity for your profession, because not every profession is going to work in every place. And so that's another part, and that kind of went more off of Rin, but a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not going to be a lobster fisherman in Montana. It's just not going to happen. So sometimes your interests will dictate that. Taylor or Kenna, Miss Kenna?
I think that one that was pretty important is the taxes one, because you need to look up what your taxes are going to be in whatever state you want to live in, because that will influence that will influence your budget and like how you want to buy your home or what property you want to buy based on the tax and everything you're going to have to give.
Isn't it interesting that there are some states that don't have certain taxes at all? Like that's, wow. If you've always lived in a state that you pay sales tax, the idea of going somewhere with no sales tax is just, oh, well, that's a really cool thing. I like that idea. Okay. Chase.
Public transportation, because if you don't have a car, how are you going to get to places? Like where I live, there's no buses you can just hop on. There's no bus stations. So that's a really big factor if you don't have a vehicle.
Right. And you could be doing the no vehicle thing for a lot of different reasons. And so it's good to know what your options are. If you're living in Phoenix in Arizona, you have a light rail system that will take you all through the city. In Flagstaff, you have a bus system that's okay, but kind of smelly. You know, you just think about it. Absolutely. See, Ryan, do you have one?
One what? I wasn't here.
Oh, that's okay. Did you have one of the 14 items that stuck out to you more?
I like the culture one.
Okay, what about that?
Like if you like to eat out or watch movies in theater a lot, then you'd probably choose a bigger city. Or if you don't and you just like to be around people, then probably a smaller town.
Absolutely. I can remember, Bryn, when your parents moved from Flagstaff to Colorado, they were like, we miss the restaurants. Because just different places, you probably feel it too in Camp Verde. That's why you're nodding, aren't you, Taylor? You're like, yeah, we just don't have the options that we used to have. Will your life go on? Absolutely. But those are different pieces of the puzzle. Like I used to say that I would never move anywhere that did not have a Taco Bell and an Olive Garden. That was it.
We
I had
miss
to be
Chili's the
within
most.
30 minutes of those. What?
We miss Chili's and Golden Dragon the most.
I understand. I feel your pain. Okay. Oh, that was actually one of them, food options. We blended it in with culture. In the article, they were talking about it in the sense of grocery stores. Recently, I realized that we used to live in Oklahoma, and there is a section of city in Oklahoma City where there are no grocery stores for a combination of different reasons. But literally, you cannot walk to a grocery store from anywhere in this section of the city. You have to bus or drive somewhere else. And that really startled me because if you think about it, that's a really basic need that you need to have access to food. Ms. Wren.
Also, different areas will have certain stores. Like it's so weird, like different stores, it's the same store, but you'll go into a different area, especially in Colorado, and they carry an entirely different supply of stuff. Like it's not even the same store. It is so weird. Like there's the one, I think it's in Avon, they have like cheeses and nice breads and stuff. And it's the exact same store as here, but there are no cheeses and no nice breads here. Like it's very, they carry all sorts of stuff there that they don't carry here. And so I think it's very strange.
Ms. Kenna?
Like that one gas station that Mia kept pointing out on our trip.
Also,
Yeah. I thought it was like Easy Way or something.
well, there's some funny named gas stations in the Midwest, I will say that. But yeah, I get excited every time I see a QT. Do all of you know what a QT is? Some of you. Our Missouri folks are like, the drinks, they just go on forever. Let's see. There are a few we haven't talked about. I think everybody has mentioned one that they found interesting. Real estate value. So the rent is more where houses are expensive. So that's one of the pieces. Your real estate, like you can get a very different amount of land and house in a different area of the country, just depending on what you're looking for, Ms. Taylor.
I know this well because I chose the beachfront house, the beach hut. I looked in California along the beach in like Hollywood area. And man, that was a mistake.
Yeah,
I'm going to be in so much more debt if I chose that area.
yeah, it makes a difference. Absolutely. The proximity to family and friends, that one was something that they mentioned. Now the writer of this article is a secular writer, so there's not a perspective, but within that proximity to family and friends, I'd also encourage you to think about what your church life is going to look like and who's going to support you and be around you, because you may be far away from your blood relations, but if you have a strong church connection and family, it becomes your second. It's a really big piece. I would not move to a place where you haven't at least looked at the options of what the spiritual life is going to look like. Healthcare facilities. This is one that we thought about because we have to drive 2 hours to get to any kind of a specialist. So if we had a situation with a child with special needs, or if one of us had something like my dad had a heart situation, he had to be helicoptered down to Phoenix because there's just nothing around here. What? Mia, you and Maggie are saying something to each other.
I did not know that.
Your grandpa and your aunt have both had to take helicopter rides down to Phoenix.
Well, I knew about Auntie Sammy, but not Grandpa. I didn't know that.
It was a thing. He almost died. It was great. He survived. So, Ren.
That's something that here is a big deal because we have to go to Grand Junction just for a doctor's office, and Denver's 5 hours away, which is the best hospital. So like for anything specialist, it's 5 hours. So it's
Right, and
something you
there's a
should think.
financial cost and a time cost to that distance as well.
Jet fuel is expensive.
Absolutely. Yes, Miss Mia.
Well, it just made me think about that when we went on that weird drive through Arizona and we found that house that was out in the middle of nowhere. And I had a moment and I was like, if something were to ever happen, like a heart attack, they'd probably die before they got to the hospital because the nearest one was like an hour and a half. I mean, the nearest urgent care was Camp Verde, and that was still like an hour away. And then Daddy was just like, well, if something happens, they just know they're going to die. And that's just how it's going to be. And I was like, that's kind of scary, but I guess that's something you take into consideration is that like, if something crazy were to happen, you probably aren't going to get to a hospital or urgent care in time, and they're not going to be able to get to you in time. So it's kind of like a sacrifice, I guess, depending on what you want.
Right. And is there a right or a wrong? No. Miss Taylor.
In like our area, Phoenix is the best for hospital. Like Phoenix Children's is like the best for most things, especially when it comes to like brain stuff or like major breaks or whatever. And that's like an hour and 30 minutes away from us. 2 hours ish.
Yeah, 2 hours.
Yep. It's all just something to consider as you're selecting. Like we're assuming that you get the world is your oyster. You can choose wherever you want. And so think about different things within that. Let's move on to the writing assignment that we had for today. Now, I'm worried about time because we went over a little bit on time last week, and I don't like that. And so I'm going to just draw a name. Actually, before I do that, how did you like the exercise? How did that work for you? Did it make sense? Okay, Mr. Tyler.
It was okay. I kind of stressed on it a little bit. So I'm not sure how good mine was, but it was fine. Yeah, it was fun.
Okay. One of the things that came up, I talked to Samuel, I talked to your mom real quickly last night, because in my area, the rental prices are crazy high and the house prices are not as high, but the apartments are. And so I realized that that's an area that I'm probably going to tweak a little bit for future future classes because it doesn't make as much sense within that. But what did you discover as far as looking at whether you would rather rent an apartment versus a house? Tyler.
I will say one thing around here, house prices vary like ridiculously. Like you can get a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, and one will be $100,000, and the one will be like $1 million. Just
Mhm.
because the placement and pretty much everything. So my
Right.
price were a little crazy.
That's why it goes back to the real estate values. That was one of the things they mentioned in the article. You know, there's different components. In northern Arizona, in Flagstaff, what's the going rate for an acre of land here?
About 300,000.
It's about $300,000 for an acre of raw land in Flagstaff where we live. But if you drive 45 minutes north where they don't have electricity and they don't have water, you can get an acre for $5,000. So you have to figure out whether you want to go off grid, and there's a cost involved in that. So your land is cheap, but your infrastructure becomes more expensive. It's all just balancing acts. So what else did you discover as far as, actually, no, I'm not going to ask that question because the assignment is probably going to answer the question for me. So I'm closing my eyes and picking a name. Kenna, would you please share your research topic on the pros and cons of renting versus buying?
Okay. Your decision to rent or to buy depends on your financial situation, lifestyle, and personal goals. Both provide a place to live, both cost money. Renting an apartment or home means predictable monthly expenses, a landlord to take care of and repair all the issues that come. Renting a place means that you are able to move whenever your lease ends. However, it also means that you could be kicked out because of sudden changes in rent price or sale of property. When you rent, you could face rent increases every time your lease is up for renewal. Depending on where you live, these increases can be more expensive. This may not be the case if you live in a place where there's rent control, which limits how much the landlord can change the rent price. Ownership means that you are able to make your own decisions about the design of your property and home. It gives you a sense of sustainability and provides ownership and pride of ownership. If you determine that you want to live somewhere else, moving multiple times can be quite expensive. You might be able to sell you might not be able to sell as soon as you want or at the price you want, depending on where you move where you want to move. Overall, ownership tends to be a little bit more expensive, but it's a good long-term investment. Either way, God has created a beautiful place for us to live, and you still have a roof over your head and a shelter to dwell in. My sources were moneygeek.com and rentcafe.com.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a really good, it covered a lot of topics. Were there any topics you guys discovered that Kenna didn't mention? Mr. Chase?
If you rent a house, you can't paint it whatever color you want. You can't own pets possibly. There's a lot of different things. But if you own a house, you can paint it whatever color, you can own whatever you want. You can install whatever you want. There's really choices for both.
Sure. Ms. Wren?
I think what I discovered most that stood out to me is that renting is probably ideal for a shorter term, like under 5 years, especially if you move a lot. Like if you have a military career and move every like 2-3 years, it's not realistic to buy a house. But if you're going to be somewhere for longer than 5 years, ideally you buy a house because it's a better investment. Because once you rent, yes, you don't have to pay for costs, but you do. It's kind of a sinking hole for money after a number of years.
Right. Mr. Tyler?
Around here, it kind of depends on like how you want it to, because especially in my area, like in the Ozarks, there's a lot of POAs and everything. And there's so many restrictions on like what you can and can't do. Like here where I live, I think it's something stupid like the grass can't get over like 12 inches tall, and then you can't have a lot of like random stupid things. But then like my grandparents, like they live 2 minutes away literally, and they can do whatever they want.
Right.
So it depends on like how it is, because the way I see it, we're kind of like renting our place, and then my grandparents actually own a house.
Mhm.
Because when you own something, you shouldn't really be restricted what you can do with it. When you rent something, I mean, maybe, but still.
Right. You have to choose which rules you want somebody else to tell you of how you can live. So, absolutely. Okay, thank you for that. Let's move on to the action card assignments. Now, I'm aiming for us to not take a whole lot of time in presenting this. So you don't have to read everything you wrote. You can pull out the big gist of it, because I want all of us to be able to present it. Samuel, what was the gist of yours?
Just a minute. Okay, for my action card.
Yes.
Okay, so I chose personal finance because that's what this class is on, and I figured, well, might as well write a
Might as
paper on
well.
what this is about. So yeah, I wrote about what the term is, basically what it includes, what is personal finance about, and 10 good financial strategies, or often followed financial strategies might be a better way of saying that.
Okay. Was there one that you think you're awesome at doing right now?
I'm not sure that there's any that I'm awesome at doing. I mean, saving in general, I just put all my money in savings.
Okay.
Um,
Not a bad place to start, for sure.
He saves more than anyone I know. Like, it's ridiculous.
Awesome. I think so. Is that Lydia? Hi, Lydia, welcome.
Hi, I'm in the car, so
I'm glad you got to sneak out for a few minutes. Thank you. We're right in the middle of presenting our action card reports. So do you guys want to introduce yourself real quickly to Lydia? Start with Mia and go. I hope we're all in the same thing. Top to bottom.
I only see one person, so I don't know the order.
Okay, well, that's
My
not
order's
very helpful to us then.
draw names.
Oh, you know what? We'll just do the action cards, and Lydia, it will just come up as we go. When you start saying your action card, say hi. Okay. Ryan, would you go next? You had cell phones and plans. Oh, no. Benefits of purchasing in bulk. Raw
was-
plan.
Okay. Basically the moral of it is buying in bulk saves a lot of money, and which can be used for gas, groceries, and stuff. And yeah, and you don't run out as fast. That's pretty much it.
Awesome. And you got to have a space to store it, right? All right, Maggie, body art and employment.
So I researched how it was like if it would affect you getting employed, and my research came out that it doesn't anymore. Now, back in the day, it like if you had a tattoo or body art or that kind of stuff, it looked unprofessional and they wouldn't want to hire you because they wanted their staff to look professional and not be like distracting from what they're actually trying to do. Like they didn't want to be a distraction. which was very interesting. And but now it's just like it's just normal to hire somebody with a tattoo. Like it doesn't really matter.
Okay, the times are changing. Taylor, how to make a good first impression.
I had so much on this because there's like so many psychological tricks and stuff that you can do to get people to like you. It's kind of insane how much people have researched into this. It's anyway. Okay. First impressions. My bullet points are appearance, attitude, and body language. So first impressions and why they are essential to the life of an unemployed individual. It's important to leave someone with a good opinion of you, especially your employers, because this affects your potential in their eyes. And if you have a bad impression on them, they will most likely hire someone else. No one wants to work with an irritable or rude person, so don't make people believe that you are one. Even if you aren't one and you give off the impression that you are, they won't want to hire you. The do's and don'ts are do make eye contact, smile. People like a good positive attitude. Dress appropriately. Don't be in like sweatpants and a baggy sweater, because people don't want to hire a slob. They want to hire a good, neat worker, a good hard worker. Be yourself. People are really quick to pick up fake personalities most of the time. People will get their first impression of you, like their first opinion about your whole demeanor, in the first 7 seconds that they see you. So it's very important how you present yourself. Communicate well. Use good speech. Don't be like 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 this, like don't do that. just don't. Body language, have good posture. Keep your hands where they can see you. That way they won't feel like threatened or anything. Make sure you're not giving off like sketchy vibes. Be empathetic. So if something is going on, like if your employer says, "Hi, how are you today?" and you're like, "Oh, I'm doing great. How are you?" and they say something like, "Well, my day's been okay, I'm like, "Yeah, I've had one of those days before." That way they kind of see you as a good I just did it. I said the
Like a team player.
Yes, like that. Come prepared. Don't show up and be like, "Hey, yeah, I just saw this flag on the side of the street that said you wanted a person to hire, so I'm here now." Don't be like that. You do your research, you get prepared, you get your resume all sorted out. Confidence. You always want to act like you know what you're doing, even if you don't. That way, it's just something that you want to project. No matter where you are, no matter who you're interacting with, if you act confidently, people will flock to you. People who are confident or have a lot of good social standings will flock toward and be next to, like, they want to be friends with people who are like them. That's just part of human nature. So if you act confidently, confident people will want to be around you. The don'ts: don't be overbearing. Don't interrupt people. It's rude. People find it annoying. Don't be on your phone. Like if you're in the middle of an interview and you've got your phone in front of your face, like looking at your resume or whatever, it doesn't even have to be like texting or do anything stupid. They're just gonna think it's rude and disrespectful because you're not making eye contact. You're not paying attention in their eyes to the conversation, which shows that you aren't attentive, and you won't be a good for that position, whatever the position is. And don't try too hard. If you try too hard to make yourself seem likable, they will automatically think that you are unlikable and trying to cover it up. Good first impressions leave lasting impressions, whether they're good or bad. So if you walk up to someone in your baggy sweater and you've got your sweatpants on and you're slumped over and you have your hands in your pockets, or like, and you're fidgeting and you're looking up and down and not making eye contact, first of all, that's just a no. Just don't do that. They're gonna think in the first 7 seconds, like I said, they get their first impression of you within the first 7 seconds they meet you. They're gonna be like, well, this is kind of a character. Do I really want to work around this person? And that will last throughout your entire time, even if they don't employ you. In their minds, they will see you as the kind of sketched out person. And it takes a lot of work to repair a bad impression.
Awesome.
All right, that's all I had.
That's awesome. Thank you, Taylor. That's really good stuff. All right, Rin, cell phone plans, and is cell phone insurance a good idea?
Okay, I'm gonna try and summarize. So, cell phone plans and buying a phone. When you buy a phone, there is no one option and there is no perfect solution. It's just you, a calculator, and a never-ending list of options, exceptions, fees, and add-ons. The average phone plan is $115 a month. That's $1,380 per year. In 5 years, with no changes, it's $6,900 a year. This is a significant investment towards your money that you pay regularly. So the key to looking for phone plans is to do your research, make sure you have someone who's going to provide you good service, because if you're paying for something and then your service is no good, it's a waste of money. And then to assess what you need to be able to do with your phone. So when buying a phone, if you just need to talk on it and you never text, buy a cheaper phone that you can just talk on. Like, it's not worth the extra money if you're never going to use it that way. And it's also important that you cut out as much of the things that you're not going to use as possible, because it's a waste of money. You could save that money and use it for something you enjoy. And to shop around and really make sure that you get a good deal that will last for a long period of time. Okay, cell phone insurance. It's a long subject. Phones, a useful, expensive item which you will probably destroy. In fact, about $4 billion in revenue is produced by the cell phone repair industry each year. That's private companies, not including like the big companies. It's just separate businesses run, not Apple. Okay, another study in 2018 showed that owners spent approximately $3 billion total. Americans spent $3 billion fixing broken phone screens, just screens, nothing else. Screen repair can cost anywhere from $50 to $207. So it's an expensive thing to drop a phone. So why not get phone insurance? You pay $10 a month and they're gonna fix your phone or replace your phone that you break. Well, just so you know, the problem with phone insurance is that you are giving them $120 a year, approximately. That's a low plan. If not including deductibles. So phone insurance companies are in this to make money. In fact, phone insurance is a $23.5 or $5 billion industry per year, by the way. And that's in the United States. That's from a study that was done in 2014. So I'm sure the number has changed, but I couldn't find any other numbers. So they are in this to make money. A lot of phone plans cover water damage, but not water submersion. They cover phone cracks, but with a fee. And they don't cover lost phones. And they only cover accidental damage to certain things. Like if you left it on your car, it's your fault that it got crushed because you knew it happened. If your toddler drops it down the stairs, it's probably accidental. So they only cover some things. There's lots of loopholes. it would be a lot better if you just saved your $10 a month. And if you do break your phone, you pay yourself that, and you can usually come up with the money to replace or fix your phone. And if you don't break your phone, then you keep your $120+ and you can use it for something else, or you roll it over into the next year and you say, well, now I have a $200 fund for next year. So when I inevitably need a new phone because I'm going to break it, I have the money for a new phone.
All right. Sounds logical. Thank you. Mia, you're also a cell phone person. What's the cost of using a used phone versus a new phone?
Okay. So the difference between buying a used phone and a new phone can seem very vast when you're just looking at the initial cost. But when you add up the cost of, usually when you buy a new phone, you put on a payment plan, which then comes with interest. So that adds on to that cost. And then sometimes you'll have a screen repair or something that you need to, and that's more of an overall cost, not just the initial cost. And when you buy a used phone, you don't have to pay as much of an initial cost, but likely the cost of repairs like screen damage or hardware damage or any other type of new programming it might need that you would take to an Apple store or a I don't know what it's called,
Google store.
provider place, something like that, makes that cost a lot higher than buying a new phone. I think it came out to about $603 sometimes to buy a used phone, and that's just for repairs for the used phone since it had already been worked with and used for however long. And so the cost difference between after all of that with the interest rate and the payment plan for a new phone and the repair costs for a used phone, it only comes out to about a $30 difference approximately if you average out the prices. So it kind of is more of a personal decision at that point rather than the strictly financial decision. About a newer phone will probably work faster and more seamlessly, but a used phone is more environmentally friendly, and it's easier to purchase by going through a private party typically rather than a dealership, and you don't have as many hoops to jump through as far as that goes.
Okay, thank you. Chase, how do you make friends in a new neighborhood?
You don't. I'm joking. All right, I'll keep it short. You have to be willing to make friends, first of all. You can't just expect the friends to be your friends. You have to stand out somehow. You aren't just going to walk outside and make a new friend. Be yourself. You're not going to have friends if you're constantly switching your personality. You need to be yourself. And if somebody doesn't like you, find somebody else. Listen to the people you're trying to make friends with, because you're not the only person there. You're not the only person that knows how to talk. Volunteer for your community. Like you have a tennis court, clean it up maybe. Basketball court, fix the hoop possibly. Be a good neighbor, as in don't throw a loud party at 12 o'clock in the night. And that's about it.
Sounds good. I like it. All right, Tyler, common reasons people are promoted.
Okay, so the most common reasons people are promoted are for doing like small things, like going the extra mile, like staying after work to like clean up or something, or helping their coworkers doing something else while they still have work to do, or just by making good decisions in their personal life. Like when people are making good choices with their finances, it shows the boss or employer, or whatever you want to call him, that he can make good decisions so he can lead the company and his coworkers in the right direction. And if he's being a good leader, it shows the boss that people want to follow him, and he's just a likable person.
Awesome. Thank you. Kenna, low to no cost activities.
So when I researched this, it was a bit difficult because every time I searched it differently, it was literally just giving me a list of different things you could do inside the house, like read a book, play music, like things like that. And so I tried to make this both ways, where if you're an indoor person, things like that would be good, like read music, read a book, listen to music, learn new skill, play games, things like that. They don't cost you money because they're just in your house, you're not going out places. But if you're more of an outdoor person, then like hiking, fishing, things like that, they don't cost you very much money unless you like when you have to buy all of the equipment for it, that's like all it's going to cost you. So either way, you still get to like have fun, find enjoyment, and do activities, and you don't have to spend all your money you wanted to do, like go to a different state, visit some friends, things like that, which cost you a lot of money.
Absolutely. Thank you. All right. I think that is all of you for this one. Thank you for that. How did you feel about researching your topics? Was it okay? And have you learned from each other? Okay, good. Moving on to our annual financial standing. So this week, we only talked about a handful of the things that were on the ledger, right? So the things that we walked over last week was the paycheck, your housing, your debt card, and your action cards, debits or credits. So that's really all you needed to fill out in the ledger this week. But in the future, we do want to add in your tithing, your food savings, all of that, but we'll add it in as we go through. Does that make sense? So when oops, I need to screen share. Here it comes. So last week, this is what we discovered for your standings. And you'll see the careers were here, how much you paid for housing, settling with the bank, which is basically paying for your college or trade school choices, your action card assessment, and your annual standing. Here, because we only had 1 week of data, it made much more sense to use a bar graph. So you can see where you are. Most of you are deeply in debt. Some of you more than others. It's gonna be okay. Yes, Mr. Ryan.
I don't think he has a question anymore.
Did the question go away?
I think so. Tyler was going like this, which I'm pretty sure means it.
Okay, sounds good. Well, this was week 1. Now we're gonna go to week 2, and you'll see that your cumulative annual financial standing from week 1 is already in here because we've got the data coming in. And as we go through this next chunk, we will add some more into that, okay? So the first thing we're gonna do is draw your action cards. Are you ready for that? Are you gonna cry about it? Where did the action cards go? Okay. I'm dumping them all into my bowl, and I'm going to page 103, so I am prepared to identify what it's going to be. I'm going to start alphabetically today. So Chase. Chase, you bump into a friend, so you get to collect $10,000 from the bank. And your action card is to research the positive health benefits of friendships. Oh, the next one is Elijah. He's not here, but he got the fold a fitted sheet, which is like a get out of jail free to protect yourself from divorce. So we're going to put that over here. Kenna, you win a talent show. Collect $50,000 from the bank. And your topic is to research the significance of a hobby. Is it necessary to monetize a hobby in order for it to be successful? Maggie, trace your family tree. Collect $20,000 from the bank. And that topic is research your own family and see if you can discover trends in personalities or career paths. Do some careers tend to stay within families? Mia, sponsor a community race. Pay $10,000 to each player. So that's going to be 10,000 times 11.
Thank you for your generous donation, Mia. I appreciate it greatly.
So all of the rest of you get to add $10,000 to your settling because of Mia's race sponsorship. And Mia, research the benefits of community involvement and the role of fraternal organizations within a community. All right, Ryan. You're fired for being tardy. Draw a new career card and pay half of your new salary to the bank. So, where are my career cards? All right, Ryan, you are no longer a chef. This is your chance. You get to be a lawyer. It's $120,000. So you need to pay $10,000 to the bank, and half of $120,000 is $60,000. So altogether, you're going to owe $160,000 on this one, but you will earn $120,000 from here on out. Oh, and your thing is you were fired for being tardy. So research time management tools and the importance of sleep on your daily performance. Rin, you got a promotion for being an excellent worker. Collect $80,000 from the bank.
Is that a one-time thing or does it add to my salary consistently?
It is a one-time thing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yours is researching how people get promoted in work. I just realized that Tyler did that last week. So work on coming up with some different things that you could do or a different career path that would add some extra to that. All right, the next one is Samuel. Identity theft. Someone else is now you. Pay $10,000 to each player.
Hey, you and me, Samuel. We're just giving everyone the money today.
It's gonna be great. And Samuel, yours is research identity theft and how to protect against it. Taylor. Add a pet. Collect $10,000 from the bank. And research the positive health benefits of having a pet. Tyler, your viral video becomes a hit. Collect $10,000 from every player. So he will get $100,000 on that. Each one of you have to subtract $10,000 for that. And your topic is your viral video becomes a hit. Research the way that YouTubers make money. And Lydia. All right. Yours is divorce, which is terrible. You have to pay half of your money to the bank. You have not gotten the full fitted sheet. So when I figured yours out, Lydia, it was -20. So half of that would be 10, so minus 10,000. That's a terrible way for you to start your adventure here. I'm so sorry. Ryan, did you have your question, or is that from before? Kenna?
Do we all have spouses right now?
Well, just wait, we're getting there. We have done the action cards. And now, so you've written down what your action card is on your workbook. Now you get a spouse. Everybody gets married. You don't even have to date or anything else except for Lydia. So you'll get 1 year of your spouse and then it will just be terrible again. So this is obviously a game. It's not real life, but everybody's going to get a spouse. You enjoy all the benefits that include at this time an additional income. Your spouse will add 80% of your current salary. So if your current salary is $100,000, you're going to get a spouse, and 80% of that is $80,000. So together, your annual salary will be $180,000. Does that make sense? So write down your current salary, your spouse's income, which is 80% of that, and your combined annual income. And we're going to put that in a minute. Now, would any of you all like to roll for housing and change up your housing? I can't actually, hold on, I've got to stop sharing the screen because I can't see you guys.
If I switch my house, do I have to
question.
pay the annual rent and then the rent of this new house as well?
Spouse and income.
Sorry, I'm trying to make Zoom be my friend and I'm having a problem with it. Okay, what was that question?
If I roll for a new house, do I have to pay the annual rent on my current house and then the rent on the next house as well?
Nope, just this year. Do you want to roll for a new house, Samuel?
Yeah, I don't need 8 space right now.
You don't want a windmill for the time being? Okay, I just
Not
rolled
really.
a 1. I'm sorry
Yes,
to say you
just
get
like
one
last time.
point. Let's see if it's not a windmill.
I know, right?
Hey, you got a cabana. The annual cost is $20,000 and the occupancy is 2, which means you and your wife are gonna do just great.
I have a question.
Yeah,
How long, or like, do we have to get kids?
you
Or like
will,
how
but
long?
not this week.
How long until that happens?
I think it's next week, but I'm not sure.
Do you get to pick how many you have?
You
Or
get
do
to
you
roll
roll?
the dice. You will either have 1 or 6 or something in between.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone else want to roll for a new house?
Does rolling for a new house give any advantages?
So you have to follow the occupancy rules. So if any of you only could have one person in your previous house, you must get a new house right now because you're now married. So you have to have the occupancy of 2. Which means Elijah will end up having to get a new house. I can't remember, was the eco house? How much can you get in an eco house? So does that help, Lydia? And also, so Samuel, why did you want to trade houses?
Because my house was eating up my money. It costs 130,000 per year and I didn't need the 8 occupancy.
Because it was just him. Does that make sense? And Lydia, so you had a cozy cottage, which the occupancy is 4. So you could keep it and meet your occupancy. You're not required to do anything. Okay. Yeah.
So I got the divorce action card. Does that mean that next week I can't get kids or something? Or is that supposed to be adopting instead?
You have found the loophole in the La Vida Loca. How about this? Let's just give you a different action card for this week, because then you'll be farther along in the whole adventure. Okay? Was that okay? Is everyone in agreement that I'm just going to spontaneously make a decision that you can't get divorced on week 2? Okay. I'm taking that out and I'm choosing a new one, Lydia, because it is a problem, isn't it? All right.
I mean, you could do adoption, but I don't know if that would.
You could, but it will add like a weird dynamic in my brain. In my brain, that's just super non-traditional. But it's okay. But instead, how about if you rescue a stray animal and collect $10,000 from every player?
That sounds much better than the card from before. And plus, then you get a pet, don't you?
You do. You have a pet then. And you research the service pet extras like obedience school or doggy daycare. So some of you are crying right now because you've had to give money to everybody else. Okay. Everybody now has an action card. We have fill in your blank for your house and how much it's going to cost you. I'm so sorry, guys. We are over in class time. I'm not a big fan of that. Do any of you want to change your career and roll for a new career? Maggie? Okay, gonna do it, Maggie. You have 2 choices. You can be a doctor or a race car driver. So look those up and tell me what you want to do and just what do you know? What you gonna do?
Race car driver. Okay, I have a question also.
Yes.
Oh, if you decide to roll and then you don't get anything you like, can you choose to just stick with your same profession, or do you have to choose one thing that you rolled?
You could stick with your same profession.
So there's really like it could only kind of get better based off what you have.
But you only get 2 choices through all 16 weeks.
So if I did one of them here, that would be one of mine, and then I get one more, or
Yes.
would this be the last?
Correct.
Yes, do that. I kind of want to do it.
Okay. 5.
So I have a question.
I can't answer questions and close my eyes at the same time.
Sorry.
I have problems. I'm not a multitasker. Oh, I wish you could see this. I filled out like 7 cards. Okay, 1, sonographer, dental hygienist, actor, dancer, or plumber.
Let me think about it for a minute.
Okay, all right, who was asking the question?
It was me. I was wondering, so how does the career picking go? Is it that you get to choose, but if you keep your job, does that count as one of your picking a new career?
Yeah, if we roll for it, that's one of your options, and you can do that 2 times over the course of the 16 weeks.
Okay.
Rin,
So does that go for the housing or as well, or do you have to change to whatever house you roll?
housing, you can pick and choose, you can stick with it, or you can go with something else. But the only thing about housing that you must do is if you have too many bodies in the house, you have to change to a bigger house.
Can I re-roll for job?
Yeah. Oops. Making sure I have all the options in there for you. Oh, you only get 1. It's a 1. Construction worker. So tell me, Mia, have you decided if you want to switch?
No, I'm gonna stick with what I am right now.
Okay. Chase, do you want to switch?
Uh-uh.
Okay.
No.
I would like to re-roll for housing.
Okay. 5 options. Penthouse, houseboat, eco house, teepee, or mansion. I'll come back to you in a second. Samuel,
So do I get the other person living with me? Do I get their annual salary right now?
you get 80% of their annual salary right now.
Okay.
All right, Rin, I'm pressuring you. Does anyone else want to roll for anything?
I have another question.
Yes.
Getting fired count as having to roll, or is that just
It's just a separate, like it's just life. It doesn't count as one of your roles.
okay? Okay.
Okay, Rin,
I'm swapping to the TP.
you're gonna stick with the TP? You're gonna go with the TP? Okay. Now, what you should have, we have to settle with the bank. So let's talk about how we're gonna do that. Are you guys still able to see my screen share? Or did it go away?
It's still there.
Okay. I'm gonna go through this list and we're gonna fill in some of the blanks. So Chase, how much money did you earn? I'm gonna put in 80% of that for your spouse over here. So how much did you earn?
I already calculated it. We make 126,000 a year.
For both of them? Okay, I'm just gonna put that in then. And how much are you spending on your house?
40 grand.
And how much did you owe by giving people $10,000 in action cards and things?
20 grand.
Okay. Last week, Chase, you owed $40,000. And so the way that the debt works is that it's half. So there's the lump owed of 40,000
I
plus.
think it was 30,000.
You are right. I'm looking at the wrong spot. So in order to get out of debt, you need to pay $45,000
Yes.
to the bank to get settled. So we're gonna put that in here. And right now you have $71,000 at the end of week 2. Does that make sense? So when you move forward on your annual financial standing next week, you'll have a little bit of money to play with as far as thinking about tithing and savings and all of that. Okay. Elijah's not here right now. Kenna, what is your annual income?
Okay, so my salary is 120K, and then with mine and my spouse's combined, it's 200K.
Okay, how much is your housing?
My housing is, so how much I paid for my house?
Yep.
Okay, it was, hang on.
Is it the same as last week?
Yeah.
40,000.
Yeah. 40,000.
All right. How much did you owe for action cards this week or gain?
I gained 50,000.
Okay. All right, last week you owed 40,000. Oh no, you had 40,000. So you don't owe the bank anything right now.
Correct.
Well done. Samuel, your hand was up, I just realized.
Okay, so I owe 10,000 to Tyler, right?
Guys, I wasn't writing it down, so help me keep track of this. I think you owed 10,000 to Tyler. I
And
think you
then-
owe 10,000 to Lydia.
Yes, I do as well. And then for my identity theft, I pay 10,000 to the bank for each player, or I pay 10,000 to each player.
To the bank. What did it say?
Okay. And then how many players are there? I'm calling them
To
players.
each player. It's to each player. There are 11 players.
So 110,000.
110,000.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Lydia, what is your income?
I think it's 40,000, and then since I keep a spouse, it's 48. So, or not 48,000. Yeah,
So-
48,000.
It's actually the spouse is going to bring you in 32,000 because they're 80%.
Yeah, sorry, I mixed it up. I was thinking.
Nope, that's totally fine. Your house. What is your house cost?
It's the cozy cottage, but I don't know how much it costs.
The cozy cottage. Let me look at the cozy cottage. 40,000. Won't talk to you until I'm done with the class. You gotta worry. All right, and then action card. How did that come out for you this week? You
I got-
received 110,000 for your rescuing your pet, but you had to pay 20,000 out?
I don't.
Yep, I think so. Is that right? So if you just had, everyone's paying at least 20,000 out this week, right? Because 10,000 to Tyler and 10,000 to Lydia. Oh, Lydia doesn't have to pay that 10,000. So you should be getting 120,000.
Tyler and Lydia only have to pay 10.
Right, but they gained more.
Yeah.
Okay. And Lydia, I'm sorry, I don't have it. You owed 20,000 last week. So to pay that off, it would be minus 30,000. And there you go. You're set. All right, Maggie, tell me your career.
I get 60,000 now, I think, because I'm a race car driver.
Okay. And your spouse is going to be 80% of that. So minus 12,000 is going to be 48,000. How much do you pay for housing?
1 second. 20,000.
What was your action card this week? You got 20,000, but then you paid 20,000 out. So you're 0.
Wait, I'm 0?
Yeah, because you gained 20,000 for your tracing family tree, but then you paid Lydia 10,000 for her pet rescue and Tyler 10,000 for his viral video. So it was a wash. Mia.
But then doesn't she get paid by Samuel and I? So she would be 20,000?
Oh, what's she being paid for?
Well, Samuel and I both had to give each player $10,000.
I got my identity stolen, so I give 2,000 or 1,000.
This is
10,000
why it
to each
takes a
player.
village, friends. Yep, you're
And
right.
then, yeah, Mia sponsored a race for all of us.
Mia's a giver that way. All right, last week
Nice.
Maggie owed 110,000. So that would be minus 165,000. So you have not yet broken even.
Nope.
But that's not right. Hold on, we're gonna have to figure that because I don't want you to have to pay your debt twice. Let me think about that for a minute. Mia, what's your career?
Fitness instructor, it's 80,000. Which then makes my spouse's income 64,000. For combined total is 144,000.
Okay, what's your housing?
60,000.
And your action card total?
Minus 110,000.
It's
Oh wait,
it's more
minus
than
130,000.
okay. You did not owe the bank any money last week, so you're still at 0 for debt.
Mhm.
This is not working like it ought to work right now. My spreadsheet is not doing what I need it to do. I apologize to you. I will fix this in between. Let's just get the numbers in there and then I'll stare at it and I will explain what's going on in the class email. Ryan, you got, what's your income?
I think he's typing in the chat because they're having mic problems.
Okay.
Yeah, they said that earlier in the chat. Ryan said, it doesn't work, sorry. And then he just said, if anyone gets this, our mic sucks and not working.
Okay, no worries. We can fill that in separately. And then Samuel, I just saw your chat that said that you have done your accounting and you had a positive 54. Ren,
Okay. So my career, I make 130K. So 80% of that, my spouse makes 104K, which we have a combined income of 234.
okay,
And then I got a bonus of 80K. So that's money in. So I have 314K in.
how much was your housing?
That was where I wasn't sure because I had a previous debt from last year of 160K and my housing currently is 40K.
Okay, so you're gonna switch because you changed right this week. So you're now 40,000 for this one.
Mhm.
You've got to settle with the bank. I'm gonna have to fiddle with my my figures for this to work and look right with your debt from last week. But I will figure it out.
All right.
This week you came in ahead 274. Here's what I want you guys to do. I'm gonna actually get rid of this for now, that settle with the bank column. This is just for this week too. Make sure that the number that I'm putting right here actually matches your figures for your annual financial standing. And then we'll do the paying off debt piece. I'll fiddle with it. Okay. Samuel, you did yours. Taylor. Oh, Samuel, go back to you.
I accounted for my debt already. Should I unaccount for that?
Nope, you stick with it. I'm just going to talk my sweet little spreadsheet into something lovely. But
I
right
see.
now, I trust you. Okay. Taylor.
All right. Combined with my spouse, it's 130K.
Okay. How much was your housing?
50K.
Okay. And your action card?
My action card was to get a pet, which was plus 10,000. I just put it all together. So in total, accounted with debt is 20K left over, which I'm not in debt anymore. Woo! You have the beach hut, right? Yeah.
Her annual
Never mind.
house
It's 100.
payment is 100,000.
100,000. Yeah. Cheater. I didn't add that. I forgot. So now I'm in debt again.
This is actually now less.
In debt again. Oh no.
Okay. Okay. And then Tyler. Oh, there's stuff happening in the chat. Let me look. Ryan. All right, let me get this to where I can put it in there. Ryan, your pay is 110. Your house is minus 60. Your spouse is 82,000. And your card was 55,000. That's a negative. Okay. And then Tyler, do you have yours? So you gained 110,000 for the viral video. Didn't you have to pay someone something? Everyone had to pay.
He has to pay Lydia.
Right.
But
so it will be a positive 100,000. Okay. So
No. He also got 10,000 from Mia, so it's essentially nothing.
it's a wash. Okay.
Exactly. You're welcome,
Thank you.
Tyler.
I'm glad that you guys are keeping track of this because I cannot write and type at the same time. So you guys have got to be on your A game with this and don't trust everything that I do, but I'm trying. After class, I will go through and figure everything out again for us. So here's where we land right now as of this standing, but this is not entirely accurate because we have not figured in what your payments are to pay off last week's debt. So it's not entirely accurate, but you can see that right now we're doing better than we did last week with our class. Several of you have moved forward. I mean, we ended last class with most of you in debt. So, hey, we're going forward. next week,
The screen share is paused for us for some reason, so we can't see all of the
why?
stuff you added. Oh, wait, there it is.
Did I get
Whoa.
it?
Yeah. My bad.
Yep.
Okay. I'll send this out in the email over the class. Next week, we're going to talk about marriage and some things to think about. The assignment is to consider the topic and decide on how your views of marriage have changed with that information and write a response paper. We will do the same thing that we did this week. I'll draw a name. So one of you will present on that, and then we'll move forward to the action card assignments. I think that it worked pretty well for the action cards to be you giving us a summary of what the high points were. So in class, we'll do that just so that we can try to keep, I'm an hour and a half right now, and I apologize. I'm freaking out about the time, but it is what it is. With the annual financial statement, you want to do your paycheck, your housing, your food, your debt, and your action card for sure. Now that you are a little further in and some of you have some money to take care of, you might want to consider whether you want to add savings in and how much that would be. And tithing, which is typically 10%, you get to choose that, but consider adding these other pieces in. Food and entertainment, leave those alone for right now. Don't add those in for right now. And don't forget to figure out your spouse, which we've done most of this just through what we've talked about today. Factors that influence your financial standing. Think about what changes. You know, like Mia just got nailed with 110,000. Two of you did. That's definitely going to impact your financial standing. Kenna.
Do we have permission to find a name for our spouse?
You can do anything you want. You can draw a picture of them.
I named him.
You want to share your spouse with us? I mean, I'd like to know how you met. I'd like to know your dating story. I think it's pretty fun.
We met through acting, and he is the protagonist number 3, and I'm the antagonist.
I see no problem with that. All right. Any questions before I log off? Tyler, is that a question or a goodbye? Oh, chat. You want me to look at the chat log again? I don't understand what you're saying, Tyler.
He's wondering if he can just give me $10,000.
For fun?
I guess.
You can do anything you want with your extra money. If that's something you want to do, I have no problem with that. But you just need to tell me. All right, so I'm going to just say Tyler is giving Sam 10,000. I'll figure it out.
Can I split that with Mia?
That it's your money now.
I was about to tell Kenna, you're just racking it in. I think that it's time for you to, share, give back a little to the community.
I'm good. Okay, I'm gonna have way too many children. I can just feel it. I'm just gonna it's gonna be bad.
Okay.
I'm good.
I'm good with my financial standing now. You're welcome, Mia. We're in this
All right.
together.
I will sort through all of this. I will help figure out the debt and make my spreadsheet work it out. And then it will come out in your email. And I'll see you Tuesday. Sound good?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh boy.